Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. Sean on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
Yo, what it do, everybody? It's your boy John Altidor with Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Back at you with my boys Vlad and Barry. What it do, fellas?
Hey, what's up? Welcome to episode 9.
What's up, guys? Good to be here and back at it for another episode.
Yeah, man. How y'all doing? Y'all good?
I'm good, man. Another week in quarantine dealing with the virus, but we're still here.
We live.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, another week of the be quarantine lifestyle, but still doing my thing and doing what I have to do to keep me and my family safe and healthy. So just getting by, day by day.
Yes, sir. Before we start the show, I'd just like to let everybody know we're trying to do a new segment on our show, which will consist of our listeners sending in questions through our email. So we'd like you guys to send us some questions through the email we can discuss during the show. So our email is profansports1@gmail.com. Again, the email is profansports1@gmail.com, right? And you can support the podcast and click on the support on the website. Help us improve the podcast. We can get a lot more equipment, helping us get the show as good as it can be. And you can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at profans_sports, and then we're on Twitter, ProFanSports, on Facebook, ProFanSports. YouTube, you can search ProFan Sports Podcast. We need you to subscribe so we can have a better link for you guys to go on there. Just remember, we drop every Tuesday morning on all major platforms. Videos drop on Tuesday, on Wednesday, every Wednesday at 8 a.m. And before we start the show, we'd also like to say rest in peace to Phyllis George. Again, rest in peace to Phyllis George, who has passed at the age of 70. She opened the door for women in broadcasting in the NFL, so that's pretty huge. So rest in peace to her. And shout outs to Vlad for putting that on the agenda, because I think it's important. So before we get into it, the things we're going to be discussing today are the NFL. The NFL is contemplating extending the Rooney Rule, so we'll get down to what that means for the NFL. Also, there's news about the Quinton, Dunbar, and DeAndre Baker situation in the NFL we want to cover a little bit. Things that are happening with the facilities in the NFL that we want to cover, as well as things in the NBA, Last Dance, so on and so forth. So let's get to it, man. First of all, if you guys don't know about the Rooney Rule, Vlad, can you actually let us know what's happening with the Rooney Rule?
Sure. The Rooney Rule basically was put in the NFL a while ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was put on, but basically it requires team to interview at least one minority when they're interviewing for head coaching, GM, or assistant coach. They have to interview at least one minority, whether that's Black, Latino, Asian. They just have to do it. They don't necessarily have to hire that person. They just have to make sure they interview at least one minority coach whenever they're interviewing, which basically hasn't worked really, because the last year there wasn't one new minority coach hired. Throughout the NFL, the NFL has 32 teams, so there's 32 head coaches. Only 4 of those head coaches are of minority backgrounds. The NFL also has 32 GMs, and out of the 32 GMs, only 2 of them are minorities. So basically, the rule that was put together a while ago, it just hasn't worked in the advantage of minorities. It really hasn't promoted the hiring of more minorities. If you think about it, it really it really doesn't do anything. So I think the NFL is trying to put together more incentive for teams to hire minority coaches. So a couple of things that they're trying to do is they're trying to, if a team hire a minority coach, they get to move up 6 spots in the third round of the draft. If you hire a minority GM, you move up 10 spots in the draft, in the third round in the draft. If you hire a minority GM and a minority coach, you move up 16 spots in the third round in the draft. So those are the rules that they're trying to implement. There's also a couple other rules that they're trying to implement, but these are the major advantages that they're trying to give teams. I have some thoughts about that, about how that's going to affect the NFL and what the NFL should be doing. But before I get started, I want to give you guys a chance to give your opinion.
Yeah, also part of the rules, if the GM stays for 3 years, the team's 4th round pick will move up 5 spots. If a team hire a minority quarterback coach, team will receive a compensatory pick, 4th round pick. If a team loses a minority coach or a GM, the team will receive a compensatory pick, a 3rd round pick at that. So I just wanted our listeners to know that the rest of this stuff going on. But I definitely have a lot of thoughts on that situation specifically because, I think on our second show I was talking about, I wanted to do a podcast because I was arguing with people online about certain situations going on. And I think these are the kind of things that I was arguing with people about online with these kind of situations when it comes to the NFL. So I think it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had everywhere when it comes to the NFL. So Barry, I don't know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do see, what the NFL is trying to do and do understand where they're coming from. I kind of have mixed emotions about it just because I think it's, a good thing they're trying to put more of an emphasis on, getting more minority coaches and executives hired for, these positions since they are very limited, minorities at those positions right now. And that has been an issue for a while in the league. And, the NFL has tried to implement some things to, get, better and improve that, but unfortunately that hasn't been very effective. So I think that, yes, in a sense, I'm glad that they're doing this new thing that you guys had just talked about as far as, giving teams a higher draft pick. If they do hire either a new minority head coach or minority GM. But I think it's also unfortunate and kind of ridiculous just because of that, we're in 2020 now, like we shouldn't have to be dealing with this. Like this is not the 1950s or the 1960s where racism was really bigger in more, severe, issue in society. I know it still exists to this day. It's not as big as it was in, the 50s and 60s, but there's still a little bit going on as of right now. And I hope this new thing that they're trying to do can really work out. I'm not sure and completely sold on whether it's gonna actually work, because I think that what the NFL does need to do more and with the kind of opportunities that they do need to give these minority candidates for these positions is they need to be able to provide more networking opportunities in which the minorities candidates have a chance to get to know the people who are hiring for these positions and kind of, meet them face to face and have that interaction and engage with those people. I feel like that's definitely gonna be able to start that process and that trend of more minorities getting hired for these positions. Because if that doesn't happen, if the NFL doesn't do that, then I feel like it's just gonna be more so of the same kind of scenario and situation that's currently going on. So hopefully the NFL can do that and implement a system in which they're able to, get more minorities to, network and to meet with these organizations and the front office so that they can be able to get these positions, and we can start seeing a trend and a jump in the number of, hirings for minorities. But until that happens, I'm still not feeling too good about the, chances of minority coaches and executives hires in the league. But I will definitely continue to keep following that situation and hope that things do improve in the very near future.
Yeah, man. I agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying. When I heard the story, of course, I saw it on social media, and I just wanted to know what people were thinking around it, because I feel a little bit strongly about it, just because I feel like the majority part of the fans that watch the NFL are not really thinking about things like that, because I believe that the league is 70% African American.
Yeah, about
that. I can be wrong. I don't know the exact number, but that's a lot of people. That's a big chunk of the NFL that's minorities, right? And I think there's no way that you can have that big population of, minorities in the league and to not have more people in positions of leadership, right? And then you come to think about, well, are these people qualified, right? And I think that's what I was arguing with a lot of people on social media about. Well, I think people should hire whoever's qualified. And I'm like, well, as long as the NFL has been around, you're trying to tell me there's not more minority people that qualify for these jobs? There's not more minority people that have the smarts or are capable to actually handle these things and make these decisions, and I think it's a lot more deeply rooted than they put it. It's not that simple, because if you can remember, if you've done your research, it took a while for teams to actually give Black quarterbacks a chance to lead the team, because, the whole stigma was, Black quarterbacks cannot lead a team. They don't have the best leadership qualities. And till this day, you can go back to the draft, you can compare a lot of players, with the commentary surrounding like their skills. Leadership always comes into question when it comes to like the Black quarterbacks, and it's not the same for a lot of the other quarterbacks. It's not their fault, but that's what the narrative is. I think Cam Newton has gotten a lot of like backlash for the way he does things, just because he's not like a poster boy for, everything that the NFL wants. And it's like, we all have different personalities. After all, we're Black people. We have different swag. We want to represent ourselves in different ways, and we have different ways of doing that. And I think that that's fine, as long as you're leading the team to victories, as long as you're doing everything to actually help the team advance. I don't see a problem with things like that. And it's like every year, like this year was Jalen Hurts. We don't know if it's like the guy's been balling in college all these years. How are we questioning if he can ball, if he can lead a team? The guy was a Heisman Trophy candidate, for years. And it's like, what else do we have to question? And I think a lot more people need to think about things like that. And Vlad, I know you got some thoughts on that too.
Yeah, for sure. I just think that the NFL, the Rooney Rule that the NFL put together was supposed to help hiring more black coaches, as I said earlier, and they really just haven't been doing that. And I think right now they're trying to save their butt and trying to implement new rules, but those rules are so invasive in a way that I'm like, as Barry said earlier, I definitely have mixed feelings about it. Like, I think it's I think it's good. I think it's good that you're trying to get more people involved, but I think that's not the core of the issue. I think the root cause of the issue is that the league is dominated by white owners, and white owners are not comfortable with black head coaches. And because you're not comfortable with minority head coaches, you're just less likely to hire them. And I think the league has a race issue that's deeply rooted on the owners of the team. So I think as much as I feel as though the NFL is trying to like implement rules, so you're sort of like forcing the team's hands on hiring coaches. You're like, do this so you can get that. You know what I mean? And I feel as though that kind of rule just sometimes the team is gonna do it just because they need a better draft pick, not necessarily because they think that the coach is worth hiring. I feel as though, like Barry was saying, there needs to be a network of black just minorities in general, minority coaches in the NFL that owners can get used to, that general managers can get used to, so that they can have more opportunities to get hired. And I think some of the upsetting things that has happened lately is Joe Judge. He was the receivers quarterback of the Patriots last year.
Who are terrible.
Right.
Yeah. So
last year, atrocious.
The Patriots wide receiver core was not a good receiver core last year. And Joe Judge, out of everybody, got one of the top NFL head coaches last year. He got the Giants head coaching position, which is a position that is regarded as one of the best teams to be a head coach of. And I feel as though a black wide receivers coach would have never gotten that opportunity. And I feel as though the NFL, there needs to be some sort of awareness build around that, and these things are beyond my control, beyond my knowledge, beyond my thinking but I feel as though they need to come together and figure this out. I don't think forcing. The one thing I'm definitely confident on is that I don't think forcing the hand of these teams will make it happen. I think forcing the hands doesn't solve the issue of race that's happening in the NFL. I think there needs to be more conversation around race. I think there needs to be more acceptance, just better awareness among the owners. And also, some of those owners are racist. We've heard about some of the things that they've said. And I think over the last couple of years, or over the last 4 years, I think when Adam Silver took over the NBA, and I think one of the major impasse of Adam Silver's career was firing the Clippers owner. I forgot.
Donald Sterling. Yeah, yes, sir.
Thank you. Firing Donald Sterling. And I think that was beautiful. I remember when that happened, it just gave me, it just sort of lit up that fire inside of me that, yes, that's a commissioner that's like not gonna take any shit. They're gonna do the right thing. And I feel as though when those race thing comes up in the NFL, the commissioner either look the other way or people get really uncomfortable with it. Hence what happened to Colin Kaepernick. So I think the race issue in the NFL is a big issue, and I think there needs to be a lot more to be done about it. And that includes black coaches and minority coaches. Honestly, right now, I don't have a solution of what to do, But I think one step is let's talk about it. Let's form coalitions. Let's form networks, as Barry mentioned earlier. Let's create space to have that conversation. And I think the more space that you have to create that conversation, the more you can come up with better solution. Forcing the team's hands, like I said earlier, is not going to solve this issue.
No, I completely agree. You know, I mean, I disagree that the league should be. I don't think teams should get an incentive for hiring a black person. I think the league should. Black people should get hired based on qualifications. Right. So like, don't hire me because, you know, like you said, your team wants a higher draft pick, or, you know, you're not in a position, you traded away a lot of your draft picks. Now you need some way to, you know, to get more draft capital. And it's like, come next year, that same coach is going to be in question again.
Right,
you know?
right. It's like you're just using them. Exactly.
We've seen situations where black coaches have gotten like a year to do something, and then once it doesn't happen within a year, they get fired. You know, I think the most recent one was the dude that was in Cleveland, right?
Hugh Jackson, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
Jackson. And there was another coach too.
There was like one from Denver or something like that.
Yes, that guy.
Yeah.
You know, they pretty much get a chance and they're in and out of there. They're not given a lot of wiggle room, you know, to do anything. So it's like you got to come in and be perfect, which I think is wrong, because like nobody does that. You know, you got to give the guy some time to actually implement his system and get his players in there. And, you know, I think it should be at least 5 years before you figure out. Maybe 5 years is too long. You know, 3-4 years, you should figure out if your team is on the right trajectory or not. You know what I'm saying? If you're seeing the changes, you should know, like, something's happening there. And in other instances, there's been black coaches that's been successful. And once they have like a bad season, their whole seeding is in question. You know, case in point, Mike Tomlin last year. Here's a guy that's been winning like 11 games year in and year out. And the 1 year he loses his quarterback. You know, he has like a freaking fourth string guy playing at quarterback. And now he's being questioned, like, is he on the hot seat or is he going to get fired at the end of the year? And you saw what he did with that trash team, man. You know, just turned it around. That's a good coach. And then another guy I can think about is Jim Caldwell. He was with Detroit. They were on a good trajectory, and then he had one mishap year, and then he was out of there. And now it's Matt Patricia. You know, and case to your point, Joe Judge, yes, he's been a special teams coach, which has been a good unit for the last couple of years. It's been a good unit. And then, boom, he gets to be the wide receivers coach, you know, which they didn't perform at all. And then he gets one of the marquee positions in the league. You know, New York Giants, that's a huge market. You know, so that's a lot of big decisions for a guy that's never had any like assistant coach, you know, head coach position or anything like that, or even like the coordinator. You know what I'm saying? And it took somebody like Brian Flores to work for years and years and years and years to actually get a position. You know, finally got a position in Miami. You know, if people don't know, that guy's been putting in work for like over a decade now. You know, and you think about guys like Ivan Fears. I know about him because he works for the Patriots and he's the running backs coach. He's been here for like 20-something years. And he has not been considered for any kind of like head coaching position, assistant position. It's like the guy has been part of a Super Bowl winning team for the last 20 years. How do you not consider that guy? You know? And then you got somebody like Tim McVay. What's his first name? Sean McVay, you know, who's 31. He's our age.
Yeah,
you know,
he's young.
He's running a team, and then all of a sudden the team turns into like young, white offensive coordinators from, you know, Cliff Kingsbury. You've seen that guy.
Yeah, another young coach.
Yeah, the way he was living. And it's like, yo, why is this happening? You know, because there's a lot of qualified coaches is what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of qualified black coaches that's in there. You know, I'm thinking about somebody like Gerard Mayo. Let's see how his career path goes, because I can imagine. I think he was being considered for some kind of coaching jobs last year, But I think,
Really?
yeah,
I
it
didn't
was
hear
like
that.
a dark horse or something like that. Like somebody people were not really thinking about. But somebody like him, you know, who's played the game, who has all the knowledge, who called the defense as a freaking rookie, you know, and now he's back in the linebackers room, you know, coaching those guys up. I'd like to see his trajectory. I think he might get a little further than most, you know, because he was a player.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot of the head coaches were never players. So like how they get there. It's like you got to look at those guys too that's been putting in the work, that's been scouts, that's been on special teams units, that's been, you know, in position coaching situations. You know, instead of going with these guys that just come out of nowhere and then they have like a good year and they get hired for a position. You know, and I think when I was arguing with these guys on Facebook, a question that came up was, is what the NFL doing racist towards white coaches and GMs? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts?
No, definitely not. I think that, so to me, I feel as though the people that are not getting the majority, the people that are not getting those opportunities will never oppress the people that are getting those opportunities. Like black minority coaches are not in a position to oppress the white coaches that already have those jobs. So for you to say that it's racist, I feel as though that's asinine. I think that those black coaches that are qualified, that are not getting interviewed, that are not getting those jobs, there should be space for them to like get those opportunities. And I think the NFL needs to find better ways to create those space for them to get those opportunities. I think people that are saying that it's racist is completely just not there. It's impossible for them to oppress or take the space that those white coaches are already occupying.
Yep. Barry?
Yeah, I would agree with Vlad. I don't think that it's necessarily a racist thing that the NFL is doing. I just think that you know, these teams and these organizations, they're gonna hire who they like, whether it's a, you know, white guy or whether it's a minority guy. It's, you know, certainly more times than not, the, you know, white guy, non-minority has been getting these jobs, but that's just, you know, based on, you know, who the team likes and who the team thinks that is the most qualified for the position. It was, you know, nice to see, you know, Brian Flores get that, you know, head coaching position with the Dolphins last year. And I think that even though they didn't most of the season, they weren't that good. I feel like towards the end of the season, they were getting better and improving, and you could start to kind of see that team was turning around and starting to head in the right direction. So that's, you know, certainly a good sign that, you know, if the team does give a minority, you know, head coach a chance, that they can do well if you know, give them that opportunity. Certainly, another one was, you know, Ron Rivera. He's, you know, the coach of the Redskins. They didn't do well last year, but they had a lot of injuries, and that's, you know, particularly a, you know, young team. So hopefully they do better this season. You know, moving forward. I just think that, yeah, it would certainly help, you know, hiring my minority coaches, because now particularly that there's more minority quarterbacks coming up, having a minority, you know, head coach may help, because as you know, the most important relationship in any organization in the NFL is the head coach and the quarterback. So I felt like if the, you know, if a team has like a black or minority head coach, and if there are these minority starting quarterback there, they can, certainly have, more of a better chance of having a better relationship and clicking right away, since I'm sure they'd be able to relate to each other more. But I think, hopefully with time, those things will happen and those opportunities will come. Sure, it's only a matter of time before that happens. I think that we are slowly but surely getting there. I hope to see more coaches like Brian Flores, who, like John said, was a coach on the Pat staff for a while. He was, I think, a linebackers coach. Then he was, went from linebackers coach to defensive coordinator, and was a really good defensive coordinator, and did a really good job with that defense. The Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2018. And then went on to, be the coach of the Dolphins. I hope to see more guys like that in the, upcoming future, who have had, the experience and who are certainly worthy of those opportunities. It hasn't happened yet, but I still have hope that it will happen at some point. But the NFL does have to do a better job and put more emphasis on, making this, a priority, and not forcing hands with, these draft picks. Like, that's not going to get it done, because then I feel like teams can just use guys and, and just kind of take advantage of that system. And I don't want to see any sort of system being put in place where teams could take advantage of, hiring a minority coach just to get a higher draft position, just because they need it, because they didn't have a very good season and they need more talent, and need, higher, prospects in that particular draft. So that I hope teams don't look at it from that, perspective. And I hope that they, can hire the, right guys who are, who should be, hired for these positions.
Right. For sure, man. My thoughts on it is that it's not necessarily racist, because it's like, dude, what are we being racist towards? The white guys have all the jobs already. Like, how can that be racist? But at the same time, I can definitely understand where they're thinking, because we're not going to do this for another white coach, right? We're not going to give draft picks to hire a white coach. But at the same time, I think it's the NFL admitting that there's a freaking racial issue. And I think people should understand that the NFL would not be taking these drastic measures if they didn't believe there was an issue with that whole situation. That's why they're changing this. I wouldn't agree with what they're doing, because, like you guys said, I don't want to force anybody's hands. But at the same time, it's like, for the league to actually go out and try to do something like that, to extend the rule even more, it's like nothing's working. You guys need to work on this a lot more. They need to change the narrative around, the black coaches, black players at leadership positions, period. And I think that's definitely my thought on it. And I think a lot of people should think a little more before jumping to conclusions, because, it's what the headlines are saying, because the headlines are made to actually catch your attention and actually sometimes piss you off. If you watch the news, you watch anything, like, whatever they name it is what's going to help you gravitate towards that. Even we're going to name, our videos so that it could be more visible to you and it can pique your interest a little more. So that's what these articles are doing. I think people need to do more research around these things, because it's not exactly what's just on the surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to thank you guys for actually having the conversation, because I think it's a very important conversation to have. You know, 'cause I think the NFL has a lot of issues, man. They definitely have a lot of issues when it comes to race, when it comes to discipline, finding guys, when it comes to the kind of people that they do draft. You know, case in point, this week with Quinton Dunbar and DeAndre Baker incident, right? Here, these guys that were, the story is what? They were gambling. And,
Yeah,
you know,
they were playing like a dice game.
they were playing some kind of game, some kind of backyard game, which we've all played. You know, we're in the hood. We're at the barbecues. We're playing. You know, for the most part, we're playing with actually good people. We're not playing with sketchy people. So we're not in positions where we can actually, you know, have whatever happened to him, to them guys, happen to us. Because I think we're thinking guys, you know. I think all three of us were very reasonable people, and we're not going to put ourselves in situations where we could actually get ourselves hurt or end up in an unsavory situation. You know, and I think so they were involved in some kind of dice game or some kind of card game that probably ended up wrong. You know, they lost a bunch of money, which is $70,000. You know, which to us that's a whole lot of freaking money. All right. But for these guys who are, one of them's earning like a $10 million contract on a rookie deal, right? And then the other guy has earned like $9 million already in his career. So it's like $70,000 is nothing to
That's chump change,
right? That's like taking out your team for a dinner at some high-end restaurant somewhere. I've heard stories where players have picked up, you know, $100,000 bills, you know, for one night, you know, because they rented out the restaurant, they did this, that, and the third. So it's like, if you think about it,
I believe it.
You're $70,000 to you, you know, it's like a quarter. You know what I'm saying, compared to what you're actually making, right? It's like one friggin', you know, it's a lot of money, and we're not raised with money. And $70,000, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money, regardless if you're rich or not. But if you're thinking about it, put it in perspective, that's not a lot of money. And I believe this week alone, there was 4 incidents where, you know, there was assaults by NFL players, robberies, DUIs, and I forgot the other situation. And I really wanted to talk to you guys about it. Like, why is this stuff happening? Why are these things happening in the NFL?
I don't know. I really don't know why those things are happening. I don't know. I don't want to get into the details of what happened just because I feel as though it's a legal case. You know, you just don't want to like say anything about that. But
we don't know enough.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah, we don't have all the info.
Yeah. But I do think that the NFL has an issue with some of the guys that they with how they support the players, right? You draft those players, they come in the league as young men and they get a lot of money, and I think there needs to be some professional development done for those players, right? So I think like rookie season, they have the rookie symposium, and they have a bunch of other things that they make them go through so that they can become professionals because they're so young, you know what I mean? Like, we get to be professionals at like 23, 24. Those guys get to be professionals at like 20, 21, like, you know, very young. So I think there's a lot that they need to learn really fast because they have so much money. And I think the NFL does it when they first get into the league as a rookie, and they don't keep it up, right? You want to keep it up so you can help those guys grow and better become more responsible, better individual. And I think the NFL has, I think that's another problem that the NFL has with, especially with the minority players. You know, the NFL is made up, as John was saying earlier, the NFL is made up of 68% black guys, and 28% white guys, and then 4% other races. And right. I think the NFL has a hard time reaching out to those minorities. You know what I mean? Because the head of, just like we were saying earlier, because the head of the NFL, the owners are white, the coaches are white, the GMs are white. So how can we connect? How can you connect to all those black guys? Like, you don't have the the culture, the backgrounds to connect to those guys and get to them and say, hey, you're a professional now, you're a responsible young man now. There's certain shit that you can get involved in. And I think the same goes for domestic violence, the same goes for those kind of assaults that those guys got involved in. I think the NFL needs to do a lot more to support those players because at the end of the day, it's going to help the NFL. Like, if every week you're in the news about your players doing something wrong, that's not going to help your PR system. So if you support those players and give them a better support system that helps them to not get in trouble, I think that will improve your product, improve your PR system. And I think to be honest, the NFL has to invest in that. And also the NFL Players Association. I feel as though the NFL Players Association and the NFL has to get together and improve that and help those players stay in the right path. I'm not saying those guys are not good men and they should be responsible. I completely agree. But I feel as though because of the situation that they're in, because of the league that they're in, the league is full of money. So I think that the resources should be there to support those guys and help them not get into those kind of situations.
Yeah, Barry, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely hear and understand everything you guys are saying. And with this particular issue that's going on in the NFL, I know there's a lot of young guys that aren't conducting themselves, professionally, and unfortunately they, happen to be, minorities. But I mean, most of these guys are, extremely young within their first couple of years of the league and under, 25. So I think, their maturity level isn't quite there just yet, much as it is for, the veteran players that have been in the league for a while. So I certainly think that, with Vlad, that they need to certainly implement a system of the NFL to make sure that these players are conducting themselves as, professionals and as, good, solid, people on and off the field, because there has been a lot of off the field issues, recently within the last few years, that certainly feel like they're trending in the wrong direction and not getting better. I'm sure with the situation that we're in with, the quarantine, that's probably not helping because these guys are, really bored out of their minds and not doing anything, at home. So sure, it doesn't help them prevent from getting into these situations. Hopefully with the league opening their facilities, or most teams opening their facilities, with the upcoming week, that will certainly help them stay out of trouble and give them something to do, and give them back in the facility and help them focus on football and getting ready for the upcoming season. So I think that will certainly help, but the NFL just can't have a thing for, rookies, where, they have them go through this program that Vlad was talking about. And then after the rookie season, it's like, okay, now you don't do anything for the rest of the careers, and now you're on your own and have to, do everything by yourself. They should definitely continue to keep, having programs in which they're, teaching these players and showing them, the right things to do, once they're, off the field, and showing them exactly how they need to behave when, when they're not playing and when they go out of the facility. So I'm sure they'll do something in regard to that, since this is becoming more of a an issue that keeps reoccurring. Day in and day out, like we said, there's been multiple cases just this week alone of guys getting in trouble. So I feel as if the NFL has to do something, because the last thing they want is to have more guys get in trouble, and that's kind of like ruining their branding and their reputation as a league. So they'll definitely do want to have to make sure they're protecting the shield, as they say, and protecting these players. When and giving them the opportunities and the resources that they need to be able to better themselves, as people and as young men.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think this is definitely an issue that is troublesome. I think that's something I think about a lot, because every single year you get all these situations that are happening to players, right? Every summer, somebody's hitting some domestic stuff, some DUI situations. It's like as soon as the NFL season is out of season, and it's like open season for these guys to do all kinds of weird stuff, right? And I think I agree with you guys. There needs to be some kind of structure put in place for these guys to actually, learn certain things to transition into the men that they're supposed to be. And I think there is a lot of things that can be done, starting from as early as like high school years, when you're playing ball in high school, right? I think things can start getting done from there. I think we all understand that in high school, these kids get a little more, they get a little more R&R in high school, right? Where the teachers take a little more time to like invest in these kids and actually engage them and things like that. So you go into college, it's a different situation where you're on your own, and a lot of things that you're supposed to learn, you're not learning, But I think one big key contributor to this situation is that, I hear this saying all the time. I know you guys have heard this saying too. We don't want no choir boys on the team, right? So I understand you don't want nobody that's not going to push back on the field, because that's not the nature of the game. But at the same time, you do want good people on the field, right? You can be aggressive on the field, as aggressive as you want to be, but still be a good guy, like a Troy Polamalu or something like that. You could still do your job and still remain, a humble, respectful person. There's a lot of examples in the game where that's happening, right? So you go from high school where you get a lot of attention, a lot of stuff that you're doing, getting in trouble, they're excusing that. You're not passing your classes, they're excusing that because you're good at football, and then you go throughout your life the same way. You look at a story like the whole Aaron Hernandez situation. It wasn't like this was the first time he got in trouble when he actually did with the Patriots. He's gotten in trouble at every level he's been to so far. So it's like, well, how could you not forecast that this guy could probably be a problem, right? A lot of these guys are getting drafted and they have suspensions on their records. Why do they get suspended? The school didn't tell us. You know what I'm saying? I think that's wrong, because it's like, you need to get to the bottom of what's going on with these guys. You see where they're coming from, see their environments, all right? There's a lot of traumas that come with a lot of these players that come from environments that are not good, that are not conducive for, young people to grow up. They're looking at things and they're thinking things are one way and they haven't seen another way of living, right? And I think that comes to a point where a lot of times you hear people say, when you make it, leave your neighborhood, right? Because like, that's not where you're going to thrive, in the new bracket you're at now, right? What is it to me to be making millions of dollars and still be in the hood? Still shooting dice. Like, I'm pretty sure in the hood, when you're shooting dice, with your boys, it's to come up on some money, right? You already have that. What's the point of doing that for, right? And I think that's a really big issue. And, to add on to what you guys are saying as far as like the rookie symposium. These guys are coming in. They got one NFL player like a Chris Carter that like messed up in his football career to come in and talk to them, even though he's a Hall of Famer. He went through a lot of situations, and luckily for him, social media wasn't around back then. You know, a lot of things wasn't on video, the things that he was doing. So it was a lot less impact and a lot less people know about it. But now you're living in an age where everything is glorified and everything's instantly just hits the internet. You know, anything you do, you're being judged for it right away. So to Barry's point, like to both you guys' point, you guys are saying this is not only the NFL. You guys have an image to uphold. Why is it this stuff is not happening in the NBA, right? I know that some stuff is happening in the MLB, but not to this extent. Why is that? Right? Why is this stuff not going on in the MLS? You know, all the other major leagues. Why is this happening to you guys? And I think, you know, the team should definitely invest more in these players, right? During a time like this, coronavirus, guys are doing nothing. We're back home doing nothing. Well, wouldn't it benefit everybody if you had like a liaison of the team checking in on these guys on a daily basis? You know, coming up with the schedule, helping them out. You know, keeping a healthy like sleeping habit while you're in quarantine, because like right now you're not in the facilities to actually get your work in, you know, get to the tip top shape. So it's like, what else can we do to help these guys be better athletes, be better people? And I think they have a lot of the resources that they can do that stuff on, and they just need to go ahead and invest in those situations, because at the end of the day, you're giving young people millions of dollars to play a kids game. If you really think about it, right? These guys are not polished people, right? And I get it. They have veterans they can rely on, but at the same time, it's like, it's not the job of the guy that's been working his ass off, you know, to be sitting down here with this one guy to like teach him how to like be this and that and the third. This team is paying him millions of dollars. This team should invest in a situation like that, you know? If not, advise the guy to actually get a life coach. You know, advise the guy like maybe some of this stuff should be mandatory, you know, when it comes to, you know, you dealing with the team. Like, I don't think it's a problem if the Patriots say, hey, if you're going to play for us, you need to get yourself this kind of coach, this kind of person in your life, and this kind of person, just so we can manage the situation that's going on, especially if you're a player that has a troublesome background, right? And, you know, it just hurts me a lot to see this stuff happening, because it's like, man, these kids, man, they've been working their whole life, right? And to have all that get taken away off a stupid game, you know, like you're playing dominoes, pulling up in a Lambo and a BMW, whatever you're pulling up in. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't look right, you know? And I think all of us know situations where you go in there and you're going to get shot up pretty quick. Like, it doesn't even matter where you're from, what you're doing. Like, if you're with the wrong crowd, then that's what's happening. You're getting shot up. Nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's coming, you know, to testify either, because that's the environment a lot of us are brought into, right? And, you know, I just, again, thank you guys for having the conversation. You know, I thought the conversation we had earlier, and this conversation was like a very important conversation I felt like needed to be had. And I hope the NFL is listening to a lot of this stuff that's going on and paying attention, because at the end of the day, it's your brand. It's your shield. You know, they like to fall back on their shield. You guys are finding people for a lot of stuff that's happening, you know, on the field and off the field. Help yourself, help these guys, you know, correct their behaviors to make sure these things are not happening. You know, I don't know if you guys want to say anything more about that.
No, I don't. I think you brought up some good points, Barry did, and everything I said earlier. I think I don't want to add anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think we've pretty much said it all. We've all put on some pretty good, valid points as far as how the NFL needs to address, you know, these issues and what they need to do moving forward.
For sure, man. But we're still going to stay in the NFL because I know some stuff are happening this week, and I'll let Vlad let us know what's happening with the NFL as far as openings and the conditions that are going on.
Yeah, so the NFL basically sent out a note to all the teams saying as long as your state is allowing you to, you can open your facility on May 19th, which is this coming Tuesday, which is basically today when the podcast is released. So basically the rules are only 50% of the staff are allowed to be in the facility, and the number of staff in the facility cannot exceed 75 people. No coaches are allowed besides strength and conditioning coaches, only if they're working with a player that needs them. So if there is no player that needs a strength and conditioning coach, the strength and conditioning coach shouldn't be there. And only players that are getting treatments are allowed to be in the facility. So players cannot be in the facility to practice. They cannot be in the facility to work out. Only players that are allowed to be in the facilities are players that need rehabilitation and any medical treatment. So I feel as though those are good measures that the NFL are taking. I think it's still dangerous to be out there and to be among many people. So I think the NFL is taking good steps in making sure everybody's safe. So it really, as much as the facilities are opening, there's really no practice happening. There's really no football being thrown. It's just the guys that need to get their knees right, get all their surgeries, whatever they need to be done. All those guys can get those services done.
Yeah. On that though, like I know the players and stuff like that, and I don't understand the whole coaches can't work with the players stuff because I just think that's wild. What if a guy, like, does it have to be like a medical thing? If a guy's working like one-on-one with a coach, what's like the big deal?
No, I think they're trying to limit that. I think they don't want that to happen yet, because it's such a team sport, right? It's not the NBA where you have 5 guys on the court and one guy can be working with one coach. Like each position, there's at least 11 players, 11 offensive players, 11 defensive players, 11 special team players. So I think they don't want a group of guys to come together quite yet. I think in June, hopefully, a group of guys can come together. But I think as of right now, they just want the guys that need medical treatment to come in. And I'm okay with that. I think it's a little too early to have a group of guys together.
Yeah, I personally would have waited until June to actually have the guys back in to any kind of facility. But I get it, just slowly reopening things and, making sure everything's working properly. And hopefully we don't get players with, that are testing positive after this situation happens. Because, if players start testing positive and stuff, then we probably won't have a season if that's the case. So I hope, that's not the situation. I hope, those facilities are clean and, everything has been thoroughly gone through just to make sure that the players are safe, because that's really all that matters. Following along with the NFL, I heard an interesting story this week. It was, I think I heard Colin Cowherd or something like that talking about it. He said that the Seahawks were contemplating trading Russell Wilson to the Browns for the first-round pick in 2018, and I thought that was pretty funny. Like, did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, I think that's like the craziest movie I've heard. Yeah. I feel as though if that is true, the Browns are really dumb for not taking that opportunity. I think Russell Wilson is such a good quarterback. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's a leader. He works hard. He makes football exciting. And I think for the Cleveland Browns to not take that opportunity, I mean, it's a rumor. Multiple people have confirmed that it happened, but we don't know how serious those conversations got. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel as though if it got to the point where the Seahawks were like, "Yo, give me the first round so I can draft. Who did they draft?
Baker.
Yeah, Baker. Give me the first pick so I can draft Baker, and you can take Russell Wilson. That's a trade the Browns should have done
Immediately.
Yeah.
You do that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Exactly.
I'll give you two first rounds.
100
exactly. Facts.
100 times out of 100, the Cleveland Browns. If the Cleveland Browns should have done that, and just imagine if that trade had happened, how exciting the league would have been. Like, Russell Wilson would have been playing with Odell Beckham Jr. He would have been playing with. It would have been such a different Cleveland Browns. So it sucked that it didn't happen.
Can you imagine Russell Wilson playing with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham with his escapability? Like, boy, that would, man. If that was like a real proposed trade, man, you could have had my whole draft, bro. Like, if I have those players already, you know, I think Barry, how'd you feel about that? I know you heard about that too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I did hear about that at first. I was laughing and thought it was pretty hilarious and hysterical, the fact that, if that offer was actually made, if that's true, how the Browns turned that down. It's, laughable because, like I was just saying, that's an offer you don't even think twice about. Like, if that offer's made you and that's all you have to give up to get a franchise quarterback, top 5 quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, like Russell Wilson, you do that every day. Like, just ask, where do I sign? Like, or do Baker Mayfield, do you need a ride to the airport? We got you, bro. No problem. If that's all you had to give up and you didn't do that deal, then that's a big time head scratcher, and you really need to evaluate who's working in your front office and who's the GM or part of the director of player personnel that is for the Browns, because that is just absolutely egregious that you didn't take that opportunity to better and change the culture of your franchise to a winning organization and add one of the premier players in this league that is still in his prime and that still has good football ahead of him and that can instantly change that organization and help you win football games and make you a Super Bowl contending team for the years to come. And that offense would have definitely easily been a top 5 offense in this league if you add Russell Wilson to that, to Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, who they just got the tight end from Atlanta, who's had a good couple of seasons.
Chubbs.
And Nick Chubb in the backfield, one of the better young, running backs that is continuing to improve every year. He would have certainly gotten better and playing with Russell Wilson. And I don't know if Kareem Hunt is still there, but he would have certainly improved. So I think that, the Browns, I don't know why they didn't take the opportunity. But also, guys, who's more dumb, the Seahawks or the Browns? Because if you're the Seahawks, why in the world are you giving up Russell Wilson in the first place?
Well,
like, why are you even offering that trade at all? Like, that's the hard time I'm having, to come to terms and to understand about that trade if it was actually, proposed. Is like.
Well, the thing is, in 2018, Russell Wilson was going into a contract year. So the thing I heard was that they were asking teams just so, like, throw a little nudge in Russell Wilson, like, yo, you better sign or else. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like leverage kind of thing. But at the same time, I feel like that's just stupid leverage.
Yeah.
This is like, bro,
pretty dumb.
I'm a Super Bowl winning quarterback, okay? It's still in my prime. Never get hurt. I played pretty much every dang game, all right? even when he is hurt. That would be crazy. And I think that brings
he still plays through injury.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
exactly. And he's still on the field every single Sunday. One of the most durable quarterbacks in the league, and also he's one of the most highly used because he's a big part of the passing game and the running game as well. So this guy is being used a lot on both, you know what I'm saying, in both aspects of the offense.
Hold up. And I think that brings me back to the point where we were talking about earlier that the black quarterback is not very valued so much because, like, can you imagine the Colts telling that, shopping around Andrew Luck, even when he was injured all the time on the bench? Can you imagine that happening?
Yeah, I cannot imagine that happening.
No.
For it to happen to a Super Bowl winning quarterback, I think that's ludicrous. And I think that's something people need to really pay attention to. Okay, for Cam Newton to be where he's at right now too. Okay, I think that's
Cam Newton hasn't won anything. That's the difference between the two.
Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl.
I get that. He won MVP, but that was only 1 year.
I get he's been injured, but it's like I think the guy has earned the right to actually do something, right? And if you are going to bring in a new person, at least let him fight it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least let him showcase or whatever. And I think they were pumping out a lot of stuff that, Cam's looking great. And if you're watching, his Instagram videos and stuff, that looks pretty good to me, man. And I get what you're saying.
Well, yes, he's trying to get a job.
Exactly. Cam Newton is not the same level as Russell Wilson. I'm just saying, like, they're not valued as much, and I that's what I see. That's my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys see that.
Nah, I agree with you. I think it just shows you the importance of black quarterbacks in the league. Like, you have Cam Newton, who is he went to the Super Bowl, he won an MVP, and right now he's sitting on his couch with no job. I think it shows you the level of the level that teams want to invest in those black quarterback. I think just like John mentioned, Andrew Luck would have never been talked about in a trade, even though he's been injured multiple times and he's missed so many games. But Russell Wilson, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, almost MVP, always in the conversation to be MVP, and he's being talked about being traded. One of the things that came out, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if the Seahawks are just trying to put some bad press out there about Russell Wilson. I heard that he hasn't been following the offense as much as they want him to. He's been freelancing with the offense, so I don't know if that's true. It's not like I'm not watching film of Russell Wilson to analyze that. But I heard that he's been freelancing, and that's one of the reasons why they were shopping him around.
I mean, if you're Russell Wilson, wouldn't you freelance with the offensive line you got?
Exactly.
The guy's running for his life pretty much every dang play. What do you think's going to happen? Like, at some point, the play breaks down, and you just got to be a player. And Russell Wilson is a baller. I don't care what we're talking about. Okay, like I've seen the guy play against the Patriots. Like there's 6 guys running after him, and he's like moving away from them, eluding them, and making a freaking pass. Completing the dang pass.
Passing, being on target.
If you don't want the guy to freelance, how about you get him some offensive line help? Okay, how about you get him some running backs that aren't injured every other week? What about a receiver? We just had DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Other than that, everybody's been injured.
No, they also do have Kyle Lockett.
I love Lockett, but he'd be injured too.
That's
so it's
true.
like,
those are injury-prone guys.
Exactly, man. Come on. All right, like, don't give me that. And I feel like that's disrespectful to Russell Wilson, man. And I don't know. I appreciate Russell Wilson from afar, and I'm a fan of his. And I think he's just like a model citizen, a model quarterback, like everything you'd want in a quarterback.
He's a leader, absolutely.
He's,
he's a guy that you want to lead your franchise. You know what I'm saying? If you want to actually have a winning franchise and and be successful, like that's a person that you want the face of your franchise to be, without question.
I mean, it's not the same thing, but if you think about it, Russell Wilson is what Tom Brady is to the Patriots. You know, he's to the Seahawks what Tom Brady was. You know, like if Russell Wilson is not under center in Seattle, people are gonna lose their minds, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
this is sure, right? That fan base would definitely not be very happy and would have some very pissed off Seahawks.
Can you imagine? I mean, you heard people calling in for, you know, to trade for Brady, but you never heard Bill Belichick was like, yo, he was thinking, hey, how about I trade you Tom Brady for a first round, whatever. You know, regardless of years, he had down years, you know, because, you know, Tom Brady
not until Jimmy G got here. That's when he considered trading him.
Hey, listen, Jimmy G just went to the Super Bowl, so that's another story. But I just thought that story was pretty crazy, and I felt like we needed to talk about it a little bit because I felt like that was disrespectful to Russell Wilson.
Right. I just wanted to say one thing real quick before we move on is that I give you guys a saying about the narrative of the black quarterback, particularly Cam Newton and Russell Wilson, but I feel like things are kind of so changing in that aspect, especially with this new young generation of black quarterbacks with, Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. I bet those three guys are starting to, slowly but surely change the way that people look at the, black quarterback, and they're starting, to value it more, knowing that these guys are actually legit franchise starting quarterbacks that you can actually win Super Bowls with and have, as the face of your franchise for the next 10, 12 years or for a while at least. So I feel as though that kind of, perspective and that kind of, assumption of, not valuing the black quarterback as much as starting to go away slowly but surely. I see why people feel that way about Cam Newton, don't know why the Seahawks would feel that way about Russell Wilson. But I think with those three guys that I named, they're starting to really change and turn things around for, how black quarterbacks, the future of the black quarterbacks and how successful they can be, when you give them, the right system and, you put the right pieces and the right team around them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that. And, to that point, I think that's changing because they have no choice. Like, you're not going to start Patrick Mahomes, bro. Like, who's gonna beat that guy out? Okay, like you're not going to replace.
No one's taking his job.
You're not going to replace Deshaun Watson, bro. Like, you're not trading that guy, And I think it's changing.
The Texans might. They might. Run
I mean, Bill O'Brien is stupid.
Right. He just gave up D-Hop. So.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the times back in the day, black quarterbacks would change their positions based on what they were hearing in the draft. We don't think you can run the system. We think you should change positions. You know what I'm saying? And you see athletes coming in, somebody like a Lamar Jackson, like, I'm a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. Like, I think they're taking a lot of that stuff into their own hand, and they're kind of like forcing that situation. I don't think it's something, they necessarily wanted, but it's like now you have no choice, bro, because literally these guys are the best players on the field. So what are you going to do?
And,
we got to talk about Kyler Murray too. That's another black quarterback
coming up. Oh yeah, no, he definitely deserves honorable mention without question.
Shout outs to all those guys that are doing their things and changing the narrative, and I hope they can get to keep their jobs and keep doing it for years, man. Because I think that's important for young black athletes that are at the position that needs to find an example of what they can be, man. And I think their positions are supremely important. So
absolutely, facts.
Yeah, let's move on to the NBA. For the sake of time, the major thing that's happening in the NBA right now is the thing that's captivating everybody is the Last Dance documentary with Michael Jordan, which we've talked about every week on this show so far. Did you guys have anything you wanted to highlight from last week's episodes?
I just want to say that episode 7 and 8 played last Sunday, and tonight is the two last episode 9 and 10. So I'm excited about that first and foremost. I think the last 2 episodes talked about Michael's dad's death, Michael's retirement from the NBA to go to play baseball, and also him coming back. And a lot of people that were watching that live, basically they don't like the way the documentary highlight that portion of Michael's career. They feel as though Michael basically had a suspension from the NBA, and that the suspension was for 18 months and he had to go play baseball. Because I wasn't there myself, I feel bad for Michael. I feel as though his dad death affected him a lot. It shows a lot, especially when he came back and won the championship. You saw him crying on the floor. Also, when his dad died, people were blaming him for his dad's death. And for me, that wasn't there for that. And watching the documentary, I don't know, I'm eating all that up. I feel as though his dad death affected him so much that he just had to change what he was doing. And him winning a championship after his dad died was just a weight lifted off his shoulders, and you could tell how emotional he was after that. I feel as though I've been hearing a lot of people saying that, yeah, but he was gambling. The gambling had a lot to do with him retired. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But based on what I saw on the documentary, I feel for Michael. I think it just shows you how great he was. He came back and won 73 games. Is that right?
72 in Canada.
72 games, and that was an unbelievable season. Yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying the documentary, to be honest.
Nice, Barry.
Yeah, no, I've certainly been enjoying this documentary myself, especially with the last, 2 episodes. I feel like they were really good. They showed a lot of interesting things that transpired, during Michael Jordan's life and career, particularly, off the court, with, his dad, dying, and, how that I felt like, depressed and sad he was, and how like that sort of affected him and, negatively, and, made him feel like really down and not himself, and, drastically changed him. And, also how I remember how emotional he was when he won that 4th title against the Seattle Supersonics on Father's Day. And that was the first title he won without his dad being there. And he was an emotional wreck. He, as soon as they won that game, he was just crying and had tears come down his eyes, and went to the locker room and just laid on the floor and, couldn't help but, tear up, because that was the first championship he had won without his father being there, because all the first 3 championships, if you can remember, his father was actually there, with him, celebrating right next to him, with the trophy, and, and was always right by his side. So I think that's when it really hit him that, oh shoot, damn, my father's not here to celebrate this great accomplishment in my career. So that was definitely a thing that really stood out to me, and that I thought was, one of the highlights of the last 2 episodes. Another thing that got, my attention was with him and Gary Payton, and how he had looked at, Gary Payton and what he had to say about Michael, and how he kind of just like laughed at that, and said that he had no problem with Gary Payton, and that, Gary Payton, couldn't guard him, and that Gary Payne, didn't have a chance, of stopping him from scoring, how he could pretty much score at will against Gary Payne and do anything he wanted to on the court. So I thought that was kind of pretty funny and interesting how he had, felt that way about Gary Payne, even with Gary Payne being as good as he was defensively, with him being a defensive player of the year, that year he Michael still knew that, he was that great that, he could score whenever he wanted and no one could stop him. So those two, I'd say the things that that I probably took away the most from those two episodes, as well as the baseball thing too. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely what Vlad was talking about. The situation with his father getting murdered. As a dad, it's just like thinking about your kid going through that. It was kind of gut wrenching for me. And, I thought that was pretty cool that he was able to go out there and actually win the whole thing, man, for his dad, and on Father's Day at that. I thought that was pretty crazy. And, it was kind of like all your stars aligned for him right then and there. And I'm glad he got to win, and I'm glad I got to see like the raw emotion that he was going through. Like Barry was saying, crying on the floor. Just everything that was happening around that, man. And the courage you have to actually get up and perform for these games is like, it is absolutely crazy to me, and you just have to give him props, man. Regardless, there's a lot of players that probably couldn't do this right now. There's a lot of deaths and stuff like that. Guys are taking the night off. You know what I'm saying? You can't blame them for that either, because, hey, people grieve different. And, the really great ones, they get up for things like that. And, these kind of things fuel them. I'm thinking about somebody like little Isaiah Thomas, was the last time something like that happened with his sister. Mm-hmm. And then Brett Favre, went out on that football game, that night after his dad passed and bawled the hell out, Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really special trait some people have. And, it's just been a great documentary, man. Just, like you were saying, I didn't grow up with Jordan, so just to see a lot of these things happening and, just to view it is pretty cool to me, man.
I just wanted to ask you guys one thing real quick in regard to this Michael Jordan documentary. Now that we've seen, all the episodes and we learned a lot more about Michael Jordan, particularly since, our generation didn't really grow up watching, him play at, the prime of his career when he won all those championships with the Bulls. Has your perspective and opinion of Michael Jordan changed at all, or is it the same as it was before the documentary? I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that briefly.
For me, what's happening is I'm actually getting to actually see a lot of this stuff that was happening, because I didn't get to see it. I wasn't, up watching the games and stuff like that, so I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was happening. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of like recency bias going on when it comes to things like that, because obviously it's on every Sunday and it's like the most recent thing everybody's seen. So a lot of people, that feeling is fresh in their hearts. So, I think that skews a lot of people's heads. And I think that's a really interesting question. I do want to dedicate a good chunk of the show to it. Because I think where you're going is like the whole comparison between, what's happening now with LeBron and then Michael. I think that's where you're going with that. And I think that's a topic we can definitely hit up on one of the shows that we do. I wouldn't say my perspective certainly changed or definitely changed or anything like that, but I can say that I'm glad to actually be learning about a lot of this stuff that's happening. Well, that was happening with Michael Jordan, who everybody says is the greatest of all time. So I'm just glad to actually see it and actually take it in and learn it.
Vlad?
Yeah, I think that I don't really want to answer that right now. I agree with John. I I think we should have a portion of the show where we discuss that. And I think next Sunday, next episode, our 10th episode will be the perfect.
The last one, the final two.
That's tonight.
Coming out tonight, yes, sir.
I'm saying episode 10 of our podcast will be the perfect episode to discuss that.
Yeah.
Right, facts. We'll save that for next episode. Right,
I like that.
No, that's a good point. But I kind of briefly wanted to get you guys both thoughts on that now. But I know definitely we'll get a lot more into it next episode when we've actually seen the whole entire documentary and, it's, officially been complete. So, no, we'll for sure next week get more in depth in detail, in that, in as far as that question goes.
No, I like the question though, for real.
Yeah,
Did you want to finish what you were saying? Or
yeah, sorry to cut you off. Was there anything else you had to say? My fault.
I'm good.
All right, cool. Moving on with the NBA. There's a famous NBA player. His brother's actually thinking about some decisions. So Giannis's younger brother, Alex Antetokumpo, is looking to play professionally in Europe next year to prepare for the NBA draft. All right. Alex is a two-time first-team All-State in Wisconsin. He's averaged 20 points and 7 rebounds. He's offered scholarships to Division I, University of Washington, and is that Green Bay in Ohio?
No, University of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, my bad.
And then I think Ohio University offered him a scholarship as well.
I think that kid should be getting scholarships everywhere right now,
Especially
with the climate of everything that's going on. And something he said was, I'm examining my options. I have a few choices from the States, but I have decided to play in Europe. That's what he said. I want to become a pro as soon as possible. I was born and raised in Europe. I know European basketball, and the best thing for me would be to sign a contract with a European club. I will have to train and compete against grown men. I will experience a strong competition and pressure, and I will evolve on every level. And, that's another example of college basketball missing out on a lot of stuff right now because, their structure and their reluctancy to actually change and, help their players. Did you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think that it's interesting that he's deciding to play out of the United States. I'm surprised that he didn't go the G League route.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I feel as though the G League route is giving players an opportunity to earn some money and get ready for the draft. But like he said, he did grow up in Europe. He has watched basketball in Europe. The leagues in Europe are actually competitive leagues, and you get a real competition in the league. So I think it'll benefit him. I think he'll enjoy it. I think he'll, just like he would have gotten money in the G League, he will get some money over there, and he will get great competition. And also he already went to school in the US, so people already know about him. So once he's, I don't know, maybe spend a year or two over there, he'll be ready for the NBA. So I think that's good for him.
Yeah, he'll probably be one and done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have something to say about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm with you guys on that. That it's interesting for sure, his decision to play in Europe and play overseas as opposed to going to college or going to the G League program. A little bit surprised that he didn't join the G League program since quite a few prospects have been heading that way, and being a part of that new program that the NBA just recently implemented. But I think also Europe gives him good experience to play against some guys that are already playing at the professional level, and he'll certainly get a good opportunity to work on his game and better himself and become a better basketball player over there in Europe, because there are some good quality competition in Europe that that they have over there, and some of those guys even eventually transition and come to the NBA and play in there over here in the U.S. So I think certainly that will work well for him, and I wish him nothing but the best in playing over there next year. But I definitely think that it's a good idea, and and he'll certainly come away well with that. But it is concerning for the NCAA that they continue to keep losing on a lot of these top, big name prospects that decide to, either join the G League or play overseas and not go to any of these, big powerhouse elite schools that, that are usually pretty good at recruiting and that usually are able to seal the deal on getting these top recruits.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking about overseas, actually, 18-year-old Kai Sotto, who's actually a 7'2" center from the Philippines, committed to the G League to get ready for the 2021 draft. And again, just more fallout for the NCAA. And to your point, I think I probably choose to play overseas rather than the G League because I feel like everything's more established over there. And you like you said, you're getting professional competition. These guys, they're playing with grown men that actually get paid to do this. You know what I'm saying? And they're professionals, and I think you get to learn how to be a professional. And I think when you go into an environment that's not yours, you get to grow a lot more. And I think that's just going to benefit a lot of these guys. So good luck to him. Like you said, he doesn't need the States, because his brother's well known, and he's probably getting paid way more money in over there, just based on the fact that he is Giannis's younger brother. So good for him, man, and good luck to him. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the next draft, and hopefully the Celtics get him. Speaking of the Celtics plan to open facilities this week. All right, 1 in 4 players in facilities with 1 staff assigned to each player. So there can be as many as 4 players or as little as 1 player in the building with 1 assistant staff with them. And Vlad, how do you feel about that? Because you're the health guy.
I don't know if I'm the health guy, but yeah, I think they're gonna open as long as the Governor Baker allows them to open. And Brad Stevens came out and said that 1 to 4 players will be in the facility. Each player will be assigned a staff that will be working with them. I think it's good. I think things are sort of letting up, and I feel as though some of the leagues. So my thing is that I feel as though players, they're gonna have those players sign a waiver to say that, hey, we're gonna open. You might get sick, you might not get sick. If you get sick, you cannot sue us.
Right.
And I think that's where I'm a little, it's kind of hard, right? I think we all want sports back, but let's not get sports back by ignoring the health of those players. I was listening to the Enes Kanter podcast, and Enes Kanter was talking about coming back, and he's excited. He just wants to come back and he wants to play. So I think if the players are ready to play, the players are ready to get back in action. Hey, and if the players are ready to play and come back in action, and there are safe measures to do so, let's make it happen.
Right. Facts.
No, yeah, I'm definitely with that as well. I like to see those guys get back in the team facility and get back in the gym and and get back to work on getting themselves and their bodies ready for the season when it does come back. I like how they are starting to do that. Slowly but surely get the players back into it, since it's been a while since most of them have been able to play basketball or have touched basketball at all. We definitely need to see those guys, get back into shape and, and work on their games and, do so as long as it's in a safe and, healthy situation for everyone. So I'm, very happy and excited that, this will be happening in the very near future, because we need guys like JT, who just recently got his hoop and didn't go without a while for touching a basketball. We need to see those guys get back in the gym and back to doing their thing soon. So hopefully this means that the season will be coming back in the near future. We'll see what happens with that.
Word. So I just wanted to move on, because, other than the coronavirus updates that we're getting from the NBA, we're glad that they're coming back, and slowly but surely. I just hope everybody stays healthy. Let's just move on for the sake of time to the MLB. Baseball is having a hard time reaching a deal to start the season with their players' union. All right, 40% of the revenue comes from ticket sales. Owners are proposing a 50-50 split between players and owners from revenues. The union does not agree. You guys been paying attention to any of that?
Yeah, so the first part is the deal that the MLB is trying to strike with the Players Association. So there's a big discussion right now because the players, the league is going to be losing money. 40% of their revenue is based on ticket sales, and because of that, they're proposing to split any revenue they make this season, to split 50-50%. 50 goes to the MLB, 50 go to the players. Instead of paying the players their full salary, the players are not having that. They're saying that they're the ones that are gonna go out there, put their health on the line, risk their health to play, and they basically don't want to forego any part of their salary to do so. They want 100% of the salary, and then the league can decide whatever they want to do with the revenue. I personally don't know how I feel about that. I feel as though everybody's gonna be hurting this year. No matter what you do, you're hurting in some way. And I feel as though the players have to be able to get with the owners and figure something out. I mean, I'm not a baseball player, so I don't know what 50-50 split is gonna do. I don't know how much of their salary that's gonna affect. But I feel as though they're not gonna be paid their full salary. It's really hard to do that. So I think they need to come to a decision. I don't know, maybe 60-40. They need to come to a decision, just because every league is trying to figure something out. You're not the only league that's being affected. Every league is either giving this up, giving that up, just to get the season started. So I feel as though there needs to be a little bit of push and pull. Somebody's gonna have to give up something.
Right. Did you have any thoughts, Barry, on that?
Yeah. So I feel like it's a pretty, interesting negotiation that's going on between the players union and the MLB owners. It just seems as if neither side is willing to budge and, sacrifice anything. The players want their money and to get paid, fully. They don't want a penny less than what they would make for that season already under their contracts. The owners are certainly know that they can't afford to do that, and gonna most likely have to pay them less than what they'd be making, since, like you guys said, that teams aren't going to be making as much due to not having any ticket sales and not having any fans at these games when they do come back. So I just feel like the players in both sides need to understand that they're both gonna have to compromise in order for this season to come back, and they're both gonna have to make sacrifices and give up something in order for baseball to actually have a season. So because it doesn't seem like either side wants to do that as of now. I've been hearing the players, like Bryce Harper, and then that pitcher from the Rays, Blake Snell, whatever his name is, say that they won't be playing this season if they don't get paid their full salaries. So, when you hear those players say that, I'm sure, majority of the players feel that way in the league. It sure makes the negotiations even tougher than than what it is. So hopefully this season, does come back. Hopefully everyone understands that, it's not going to be the same, and you're not going to be getting paid as much because everybody's losing money at all these leagues, and sports are losing money from what's going on right now with the pandemic. So I think that these guys just have to do the best they can, and then make sure that they are doing this safely, and make sure they're being smart about it. So we'll see how the negotiations go moving forward, but it'll certainly be an interesting to see how baseball does come back, and what the actual proposal they do agree on is, since both sides aren't willing to meet halfway.
Yeah. My thoughts on it is, I don't know. I think it's funny. Baseball is funny because the state of the game is not that great, with the lack of interest from young people, and they're losing older fans too, because, as soon as they try to do something innovative or new, the baseball purists, they're not going to want to stay around. You know what I'm saying? Because they like it's America's game. They like the old school, 9 innings, slow game. And they can sit there and watch it all day. And, if you're retired, I can see that, like, I guess go ahead and watch a 4-hour game. Like, you have nothing else better to do.
Right, you don't got to worry about waking up and going to work the next day, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like the players and the league is doing a detriment to themselves, because, like, this is going on. So why would you even drag anything out? One, baseball has the highest contracts in major league sports, right? The highest contract with the most money. But it's like, for people like Bryce Harper to come out and talk about, oh no, let's not do that. Please shut the hell up, okay?
That's the same thing Stephen A. Smith
for real. There's
he said that when he heard about the comments that Bryce Harper and Blake Snell, the pitcher from the Rays, made, that they won't take anything less than a full salary to play this season.
Yeah, dude.
He legit told him to shut that up.
No, that's what they need to do.
It's funny that you also said that as well.
No, I didn't see that, and I watch First Take all the time. I didn't even see that. But no, I really think guys like that should shut the hell up, because you're literally making top 1%, most money in the league. So, like, what do you have to even worry about? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a guy that's coming from, Pawtucket or whatever, that's trying to make the team that's not getting paid much money at all. Maybe I could see if one of those guys said something, then I could think about what they're saying.
Right,
for Bryce Harper to talk about, dude, you're getting paid $400 million or something like that?
Oh yeah, you seen that contract he just got?
Like $400 million?
It was like around
there. Just like,
it was like 350 something. Yeah.
You're not hurting. Okay, I don't care what we're talking about. Other leagues like the NBA, 25% of the player's salary, nobody says anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
LeBron, none of those guys.
You have a guaranteed contract, okay? And the majority of the majority of the league is trying to get exactly where you're at already. So there's really no room for you to even say anything. But I just think they need to like swallow their pride and do what they got to do, because their league is dying. And, you know, you can't help that by sitting at home and talking about, I want my whole salary when there's a freaking pandemic. You know, baseball as a whole, all the leagues are losing money, period. So like we just need to move on from that.
Right, they're being selfish for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, bunch of greedy bastards.
Oh yeah, money hungry
for real.
Oh, yeah.
But let's move on to Vlad. I know you want to update us on the soccer.
Yeah, I definitely do. So, so this weekend, pretty much, the Bundesliga, the German league came back.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, they played without fans. There were no handshakes, and every player was just elbowing each other.
I like it.
There you go.
Oh, the other thing too.
What was that?
Sorry about that, you know, because there's a point I wanted to make about the whole baseball thing. It's like, dude, you guys, you're swinging a bat, so you're not touching anybody. You're throwing a ball that's not touching anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's like you guys have like the least issues when it comes to like being contacting like COVID-19. I just want to say that. It's like, dude, you guys have actually one of the safest sports, so like relax. But go ahead, Vlad. My bad.
No, it's cool. The subs had to sit 6 feet away from each other. All the subs had masks on. Assistant coaches had masks on. The head coaches didn't have masks on, just because they need to like scream to the players whatever they need to be doing. And then because there were no fans, you could hear anything. You could hear anytime they kick the ball, anything the players.
Wow, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
Anything the players were saying to each other. The only claps you heard were from the benches. Whenever the team does something good, you'll hear like a clap or something. And when they're celebrating, soccer celebrations are crazy. Those guys, they're like all on top of each other. Like, yeah,
they do.
Right.
They're pretty crazy celebrations, but now whenever they score, they celebrate alone. They cannot touch each other when they're celebrating. So it's very different. But as different as it is, as weird as it is, I'm just glad it's back. Yesterday morning, I woke up, sat my butt on the couch, watched 2 games. It was I don't know how to describe it, but it was refreshing to just sit down and watch a couple of sports games. The other thing I wanted to touch on, the Premier League, La Liga, Series A, and the MLS, they're all coming back in June. So because the German league gave them a little bit of what to look forward to, I'm sure they'll learn from that and they'll follow up. They'll follow on what the German league's been doing. So I think this is what sports is gonna be, at least for the year of 2020 and maybe 2021. It's going to be this weird indoor, no fans kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. That's what it's going to have to be. And then I think one thing we didn't do yet to end the show is be money lifestyle, man. Who has a be money lifestyle of the week?
So, yes, the Be Money Lifestyle Person of the Week. I have one person who I'm going to nominate, then actually have a couple of other honorable mentions. The person that I'm going to nominate is no other than Ida Kneeling.
Or Ida Kneeling?
Ida, like I-D-A.
Okay, Ida.
And then kneeling like you're kneeling down.
Yep.
So she's a 105-year-old woman who's a sprinter. She just turned 105 on May 15th, so just the other day. So happy belated birthday to her. And glad that she's still alive and still well. She has the record for the 60-meter and 100-meter race for women in her age group from 95 to 99 and then 100 plus. So she is certainly a very strong and courageous and inspiring woman that is certainly, inspired me once I read that. And it's, really pretty cool that someone that age is, still, not letting that, affect them, and they're still doing what they love to do and what they're passionate about. She apparently says that, the reason why she still runs is because she's running from old age. So she still wants to feel like she's a young and youthful woman, and, age is just a number, as you know. So, she's come out with a couple books. It's interesting that one of her kids, our daughter, I believe, is her trainer. So she trains with her daughter every day. And and so I feel like she's definitely worth the person being the B Money Lifestyle of the Week. Also, real quick, a couple of honor mentions is Jared Stidham from the Patriots. He did a pretty cool thing, donated 1,000 meals to the Attleboro and Milford families in those areas. To the YMCA. So he certainly has been doing his part in giving back and helping the families who are affected by this pandemic. Him and his wife did that. So big shout out to them. And then big shout out to Sotto, who is a player who plays for Liverpool. He is from Senegal. He apparently gives 70 euros every month, I believe, or every week to his people in Senegal who are suffering and from poverty and from hunger. So that's a pretty cool thing that he's able to do. So I feel like he's another honorable mention for the B Money Lifestyle person of the week. So those three people are definitely doing really good things, and I feel like they deserve to be mentioned because they was definitely living the B Money Lifestyle this week.
Right. So that's Ida, Stidham, and Sano, man. Congrats. And hopefully we keep this going and keep that B Money Lifestyle going, man. But that's going to be our show for today, man. Again, thank you guys for listening to the show. If you guys would like to keep up with us, we're on YouTube, just YouTube ProFan Sports. We're on Instagram, ProFans_sports. We're on Twitter and Facebook at ProFan Sports. So just reach out to us. And again, we're trying to do that segment where we can get the fans to email in. So if you want to email in a question or a topic, whatever you're feeling, just email us at profansports1@gmail.com. Other than that, man, thank you guys for doing the show as always, man. And thank you to our listeners and our supporters, man. Have a good week, yo.
Peace.
Have a good week, fellas.
Thank you for watching this video. If you like ProFan Sports podcast videos, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps us out greatly.
New episode will be dropping every Wednesday morning. Clips will be dropping every Wednesday afternoon. Click on the bell button for notifications on all our new videos. Thank you.